Hey friend, I'm Danielle Damrell, and I am so grateful that you're listening to the Created Worthy podcast. This show is all about honoring the life stories of women from different ages, beliefs, backgrounds, and experiences. Everyone's got a story, and instead of getting stuck in the trap of unworthiness, this is a safe place for stories to be shared. On this show, we chat about the transformative power of creative processing too, and how we can utilize our God-given creativity with intention to heal, grow, find joy, create simplicity in the midst of our chaotic lives. So pull up a seat at our table because we are all created worthy. Hello, welcome back to the Created Worthy podcast. Today, I'm joined by another worthy warrior, Claire Darr. Claire is a former corporate lawyer turned business executive coach who is dedicated to helping high-achieving professionals create lives filled with peace and purpose without sacrificing their 6- or 7-figure incomes. With a focus on inner work and balance, Claire offers practical, real-life solutions to help her clients build transformations that make life genuinely exciting. She empowers professionals who are ready to rediscover their passion for life and work, guiding them on a strategic, step-by-step journey from burnout to brilliance. As a mom to Lydia and Ava, and a wife to Brett of 13 years, Claire knows firsthand the importance of carving out your own path in life and career. She offers a variety of coaching services tailored for high achievers, from micro courses and group coaching to corporate wellness trainings, workshops, and private one-on-one sessions. Claire's coaching isn't a one-size-fits-all approach, though. It's about helping clients adopt habits, mindsets, and belief systems that fuel growth in every area of their lives. Claire, thank you so much for joining me on the Created Worthy podcast. I've been looking forward to this all year, and I can't wait for my listeners to hear even more about your real life story.
Oh, thank you, Danielle. I am so excited to be here. I've been looking forward to it all year too. And anytime
Yeah.
I get to spend with you is a treat. It's a gift and a joy. So thank you. Thank you.
Oh, same. Ditto, my friend. So I would love for you to start us at the beginning of your journey. Can you tell us a little bit about where you were born, where you grew up, and describe what your childhood was like?
Oh, my goodness. Oh, I'd love to. I was actually just talking about my hometown to some mutual friends of ours. So I was actually born in the northeast of England, a small town on the northeast coast called South Shields. And for anyone who's familiar with England, the main city is Newcastle. That's what everyone knows. They know football team, but we're closer to Scotland than we are London. So we're way up there. And grew up in this beautiful town. All of my family were born and raised in that town, going back generations upon generations. All of my friends' families were born and raised in that town. It's a seaside town, so a lot of activity and fun. Looking back now, the most incredible place to grow up as a child, but as a late teen, early 20 something, I couldn't wait to get out. I was bitten by that. The grass is greener. I couldn't wait to get out. So I'm an only child. And I always say I had multiple sets of parents in that my parents were incredible, are incredible. They both work full time. So my grandparents took care of me
Mm.
from being a baby, and they were war era people. They'd lived through
Yeah.
both world wars. And so amazing people to raise me. And I talk about them a lot just because so many of the lessons I learned came from my grandparents, and to get to spend time with people who have lived a life like they had was incredible. So I was very fortunate. I always had a desire for something outside of where I had grown up. And to me, that translated in an early age to being an attorney. I don't know
Mm.
where the idea came from. I think TV. My nana watched a lot of daytime TV, and I think it was that. And from an early age, I wanted to be an attorney. And I was very focused in school, enjoyed my life, but very focused on what would get me to become an attorney. Every step
Mm,
of my school life was focused on that. And at a I actually graduated law school in England at age 22 and was well on my way to being an attorney in London when I think God stepped in and had a different idea for how my life could be. And I ended up in America. I'd never been to America before. No one in my family had been to America before. And I ended up here as a lifeguard. I was a lifeguard and a bartender to put myself through law school. And so I came here as a lifeguard at a summer camp for disabled children and adults. And it was a camp that just accepted an application I put into a random system. And it's in North Texas, close to Dallas.
wow.
And I came with a suitcase and not knowing what would happen other than I was going to go do something fun for the summer before I became a boring old attorney. And my life completely changed trajectory that summer. It was summer of 1996. I um I went back home and I went to London to meet with all of these law firms and I wasn't the same.
Mm,
I wanted something more, and something had sparked in me just the working with the children and adults with disabilities, being in America, something just changed. And so then my focus became, how do I get to America? How do I make that happen? And I moved here the next year with 2 suitcases and no plan, nowhere to live. I had a friend who said, "You can come live with us until you find a job." No job, and within a few weeks found a job at a law firm, and from there discovered I needed to go back to law school again if I actually wanted to be an attorney in America.
mm.
I went to law school again, so I have 2 law degrees on
What
2
in
sides of the
the
and
but
you
you
laughed at
still had that prompting of, "I do think I still wanna be an attorney, but in
yeah,
order to
yeah,
do this, I gotta go
yeah,
to school again," which is
I gotta
worth
go to
it.
school again. Yeah, I wanted to be an attorney and I wanted to stay in Texas. Dallas felt like home to me. I could have moved to New York and gotten around having to go back to law school, but to me, if I was gonna move to New York, I might as well just live in London, and I wanted to be in Dallas. And yep, so I just went back to law school again and did it all over. And fast forward, I became an attorney. My dream job, the law firm, the shiny building, the high profile clients,
Mm,
all of that kind of excitement. And in my first year, I was like, "Oh, I don't think I like this." And from then on, it became, I need to figure out what I want to do with my life now. I
yeah,
don't think it's this. But I had myself in the place I'd always wanted to be, which was quite eye-opening. When you think, what am I supposed to do now? The reality of the dream was not quite the dream. So I am not a practicing attorney anymore. I actually stayed with it for a good while, for about 12 years, and was very successful. The air quotes version of successful, great
mhm,
title and money and experiences. I'm very grateful for all of that. But there was something within me again that just was dissatisfied. This isn't quite the dream I had. I know that dream was going, came from a feeling within, and that
yeah,
feeling wasn't there when I was a practicing lawyer. And about 12 years ago, I went on a mission to figure out what it was that would fill me up and light me up and fulfill everything I wanted. And it took a number of twists and turns. Got married and had a family in the meantime and helped build some businesses and then set up my own business coaching
mhm,
people towards that life that they want too. And I think it's just really great when you trust that intuition and that path, sometimes not quite knowing where it will take you. You find all these years later living in another country, not doing what you set out to do and
right.
living a beautiful life. So I'm
But it
very
takes
fortunate. And
those, like, twisty, turny
yeah,
years of, "Okay, I'm gonna do this because this is what I've always wanted to do," right? Like, that's your story is you set out to become an attorney. You wanted to be an attorney since you were very young. You set out
Mhm.
to do it. You did it in England, or you got the degree in England, then you got
Mhm.
a taste of America and you're like, actually, I want to be here. Then you still pursued that dream. And then you got into that it's the corporate space as an attorney. And that's actually what showed you that wasn't where you felt most aligned. But
Mhm.
that doesn't mean that any of those years are wasted, right? Like you had to go through all of that to experience that discontentment that actually brought you to a space to where you are more aligned. So before we get
Yeah.
into
Yeah.
the 12 years since you stopped practicing, right? It's been 12 years.
Mhm.
Can you tell me a little bit more about your experience as a corporate attorney and the journey of I'm assuming you sat in that discontentment for a while before you were actually able to make an out or create an out. So
Mhm.
yeah, tell us a little bit about your journey through and to burnout and then we'll get into how you got out of it.
Yes, absolutely. So it's an interesting thing because law school an incredibly intense experience. And when you're there with other people all within that experience, it becomes part of you. It becomes part of your identity. And the world oohs and ahs at attorneys and it becomes part of who you are, right? And you identify with it. And so many of my dear friends are from that law school experience and that law firm experience because we bonded over really trying, intense, stressful experiences as young
Yeah.
people pushing. And so what I found was the personality traits I had, and I say had, they're still mine, but I've since learned they don't necessarily serve me to push and drive and sacrifice and keep going and not listen to myself, my body. Those personality traits served me well there. I really did well because I could just keep pushing and pushing. It's an environment where I think there are people who are truly called to be attorneys where it they wake up like teachers and other people who wake up and it's really part of them and they get such a vibrancy out of it and the liveliness comes from
Yeah.
the practice of law and what they do. And then there are others who I think, like me, I fell into the category of I thought it would be interesting and fun and amazing, and it was. But what I had to sacrifice to become successful
Mm.
there and to maintain that success was not something that felt aligned. And
Yeah.
we didn't use those words back then. We just used kind of stress. You had job stress. But working incredibly long hours, I was able to do it at a young age when I didn't have a family and I didn't have any responsibility. I didn't even have a dog back then. I was able to work all of those long hours arm in arm with people. Um, and then I looked forward to, okay, when I have a family, what will my life look like? How do I get to what then I learned have it all? How can I have it all? And so, like you said, moving through experiences like that, they bring us to where we are and who we are. I really think of it as I got to experience that. I got to
Mm.
live that life, which had high highs and low lows and everything in between. And just because I decided that particular path wasn't for me, doesn't mean anything about it or the
Right.
people who choose to stay there. It just means that the future direction for me was to go in another on another path and pursue something else. And so I was in utter burnout. Something I realized at now that I didn't know then was I was in burnout. I didn't know I was in burnout.
Mhm.
And
What
and
did
that's part of
burnout
what
look like for you? Like, how did that show up in your life, in your body, in your mind?
I was
In
a
reflection, of
very
course.
yes, in reflection, because I didn't know this at the time, I was a really successful, well-functioning burnout
Yeah.
experience. Because burnout to me, I kept billing those hours. I kept showing up. I kept taking on the new work. I kept putting off the doctor's appointments. I put off
Mhm.
sleep. I medicated to go to sleep and to wake me up in the morning. I lived on coffee. I didn't take care of my body. I gained
Mhm.
weight. I had significant health issues that were rumbling under the surface. that I ignored. I started distancing from old friends and family because in my world, I didn't have time for that. I had to get this other stuff done. So I wouldn't go to the parties. I didn't prioritize social things because they were inconvenient to my work life. And I really was on this hamster wheel of get up, work, try to do a few little things that I know I'm supposed to do, and keep working, go to bed. It was inconvenient, and I say this with all honesty, it was inconvenient to have to go to the bathroom sometimes. Some days, sitting at my desk, that was an inconvenience because I didn't have time for that. And
Mm,
so many attorneys are that way. They get ill because of it, let alone eating. It was inconvenient to eat sometimes, to drink
right.
water, to and so I was running on empty. I was running on adrenaline and cortisol. I was in adrenal fatigue. I had serious health issues that still are with me. I've
Mhm,
not, and yet I showed up in 3-inch heels, a suit that was perfectly coordinated, with a smile, with my act together, not letting anyone down.
mm,
And it was all hidden under the surface. And so, what you say on reflection, that's one of the things that really it's always in my mind when I'm meeting with people and working with people, you might not know you're in burnout. These little things I've talked about, not prioritizing sleep and food and time with friends might seem insignificant,
yeah.
but they're part of what makes your life and they're vital. And so I feel like it's my mission now to help educate people just on what's available to them in a full life. They can
Yeah.
choose. But yes, it's funny to look back and think, I wasn't missing work, I wasn't missing meetings, but I also wasn't healthy
Yeah.
or
So,
happy.
yeah. And like, how can you experience joy when your nervous system is so dysregulated and you're not even taking bathroom breaks? There's just constantly something on your mind that is, and especially I assume in the legal side of things, there's just always major problems to solve. And that's what you're
Mhm,
trained to do is like problem
mhm,
solve other people's
mhm,
lives.
mhm,
And it's a huge weight, I'm sure, to
mhm.
carry. Yeah, of course, naturally, you would be like, this isn't nearly as important as figuring out this problem, right? Have you ever heard of the term being an underproducer versus being an overproducer when you're in
No.
burnout or
Okay,
stress?
oh, got you. So explain to me what how you
So it's
understand it.
actually a term that I learned from a Brene Brown book or training
Uh-huh,
or something.
uh-huh.
And I can't remember exactly all the details.
Yeah,
I'll see if I can find the book and link it in the
yeah,
show notes.
yeah.
I believe it's maybe Rising Strong or Daring
Okay.
Greatly or one of those. But she talks about being an overproducer or being an underproducer when you're in
Yeah,
stress.
yeah,
I'm an overproducer. It sounds like
yeah.
you are an overproducer, right? And so that is like to the detriment of your health, your wellness, your
Mhm,
happiness, and how that is something that like we have to come to terms with, we have to come face to face with, and we have to recognize within ourselves that even though you're successful or you're checking off all of the tasks on your to-do list, that doesn't mean that you're actually successful. That doesn't mean that you're even healthy or okay,
mhm,
right?
mm.
What is life if you're just navigating through a to-do list? That's no legacy. That's you only have this one life to live. So why would
Yeah.
you want to live it in this place of just, okay, next thing, you're not taking any time to slow down, to rest, to pause. And that's actually something that you said in your pre interview form. I ask
Mhm.
everyone, what is your primary creative processing method or methods? And you said three things that are all about slowing down. They all
Mhm.
are around this concept of slowing down. You said journaling, which you have to
Yeah.
slow down. You said becoming still, which
Yeah.
is literally another way of saying slowing down. And you said spending time outside, which you can't
Yeah.
really do unless you've got like a really crazy, awesome work situation, which some people do. Good for you. You can't really do when you're sitting at a desk.
Mhm.
And so I would love to have you talk to us about how you discovered that those were what it would take for you
Yeah.
to navigate out and through burnout so that this now in this phase of your life, like these are your go-to creative processing methods. These are the things that you do to get into flow state, to become creative, to experience life, to be more intentional with your family, and to live the true, real, aligned version of success. So
Mhm.
take us
Mhm.
through that journey.
A lot of trial and error, I think. A lot of trying something on and seeing how it sat with me and seeing if it was something that filled me up, lit me up, that I felt good about afterwards, that I felt like had a connection with, and being open and curious to everything that could help me further my health and being, my life, my family, my business, my everything. And knowing that I deserve to do it. I know your podcast is about worth and being worthy. It started really with me making a commitment and a decision with myself to myself that I was worth it, that
Mm,
my life was worth it. And then how would I progress through to get to the place and feel into a place that I wanted and should be. And so I went on a long journey of self-discovery of trying everything from vision, mood boarding to yoga to Reiki. I've tried pretty much everything, sound healing, breath work, and so many of those modalities really truly help me. You can become a master at trying all the things and get overwhelmed by
mhm.
that and
Yep.
put all of the pressure on yourself to do that. And have I looked at becoming a yoga instructor? Of course I have, because that's how my brain works. When have I looked at becoming a breathwork instructor? Of course I have, because that's how my brain works. I
Yeah.
could do this. I could, but having the sense of self to sit back and think, I can't do it all. There are only so many hours in my day. In the time that I have given myself to prioritize my health and well being, and I carve out that time every day, I am worth that time. It comes before everything else on most days.
Mm,
Then what is it that will give me the biggest boost and vibrancy and connectivity to who I am and looking within? And so for me, I tried everything. Journaling, really, every time I came back to it, and a lot of people don't journal. I talk to people about
mm,
journaling a lot. I didn't have a diary as a kid. I didn't have the little locked diary. But journaling to me, I took the pressure off, even if it's in a ratty notebook, that's okay,
yeah.
a piece of paper, wherever I can
Doesn't
just
matter.
get my thoughts out and process my thoughts and my emotions and really talk to me.
Mhm.
I found putting pen to paper really connects. Being still, I had a friend and mentor just tell me that I've gone through life just constantly moving from one thing to the next. And there is such power in just taking, especially in today's world where we are hyper connected and
Mhm.
constantly moving, just to give yourself that gift of 5 minutes of
Mhm.
nothing to do is the thoughts and ideas that maybe come to you during that time or come to you after are so valuable. And so I just encourage people to try on a lot of things. What works for me might not work for you. It's not a one size fits all. Try on the things. And when you find the thing that feels aligned with you and you experience a shift, then prioritize it, block it into your day, hold it sacred.
Hey there, friends. Are you ready to rise fully into your calling as a leader? I want to introduce you to Heart Soul Strength, a ministry dedicated to equipping leaders like you to serve with purpose, resilience, and joy, fully aligned with God's will for your life and the people you have specifically been called to lead. Whether you are leading a company from your home while you're raising small kids, or you're the leader of a Fortune 500 company, I want to personally invite you to our first immersive event, the Rise Leadership Conference, happening November 12th through 14th, 2025, in Waco, Texas, at the stunning Deerfield Estates, just 10 minutes from downtown Waco. This will be a weekend of worship, actionable workshops, connections, networking, and fellowship with women who share the same anointing on their lives, but maybe at different levels. It's designed to recharge your heart, soul, and strength, and to empower you to lead with clarity and confidence. Tickets are now available at the lowest donation rate they will ever be, but only through the end of this year. So whether you're able to join us in person or simply just want to support the mission of Heart, Soul, Strength, where we are called to equip leaders, your donation makes a difference. And as a thank you, now through the end of the year, if you donate any amount, we will send you a little gift, a bookmark, a magnet, or a sticker to show you our gratitude. Visit heartsoulstrength.org to learn more, to donate, or to grab your ticket to rise. Let's rise into leadership the way that God intended, together. You are created worthy, and through Him, you have the heart, soul, and strength to make a kingdom impact in whatever role you're serving in. God's got you, and you got this.
It can be your thing, but it's important to love it, I think.
Yeah. A huge part of your story that we haven't touched on yet is your family.
Mm,
That was a big, it sounds like it was a big desire before it was ever even a thing, was to be able to have a life where you could prioritize being a mom or being a wife. So at what point did you meet your husband and start your motherhood journey?
a lot later in life than most people do, and that worked just fine for me because I was on this
Yeah.
career path. So I was 30 when I met him. He's younger than I am. He's 7
I
years younger
love
than me.
that.
I know. And we met in a bar on Valentine's
Amazing.
weekend. Amazing. And we've been together ever since. We've actually been together almost 20 years, and
Wow.
it'll be 20 years next year. And grew up in very different places, yet we have so much in common and we're very different. I think we're yin and yang in so many ways, and we have so much connectivity in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And we didn't get married for 6 years. We dated. People thought I was crazy because I was 33 and 34 and 35 and I still wasn't married. I was just dating.
Yeah.
And but it was the right path for us. Like by the
Right.
time we got married, we knew like we're family. We're
Right.
in this. And so I had my daughters later in life just by virtue of the fact we hadn't gotten married yet because we were living a life. And that's what my life was supposed to be. And then when I had my first daughter, I was still working crazy hours as an attorney, and I was outsourcing my life at the
Mm.
time. I was paying other people to live my life for the first year of her life. I would run and make it to the one little thing for 15 minutes, hair on fire, worried about what balls I was dropping at the office and race back and race everywhere. And I was just constantly racing around, trying to be there for bedtime, trying to be there for mealtime. And I made the decision that um, you get, like you say, I have these signs on my wall. You have just one life. I have it right here. I look at it every day.
Wow. Yeah.
Um, and I wanted to be a parent that was present, but also be a great role model to a young girl of a, a woman can have dreams and goals and make money and do whatever she wants. And
Yeah.
so it was important for me to continue working as well, but to create a life that enabled me to be at everything I wanted and needed to be for my children and never miss a thing, but also live this vibrant business life as
Yeah.
well. And so I had my second daughter much later at age 42. And so now my goal is just to stay fit and healthy so that I can keep going, right? And I can be there for everything and be at everything in their life. So it's been a really beautiful journey, and at every twist and turn it happened the way it was supposed to. I
Mhm.
just didn't know that back then.
Yeah. It didn't feel like it at the time, I'm sure.
No,
Never
no.
does.
No, and particularly
Yeah.
people have opinions, right? The older you get and you're still not married and you haven't had
Mhm.
children, everyone has an opinion. Whatever you do, someone will have an opinion about it. So,
Real quick on that note, I think it would be really powerful for you to just encourage maybe a woman who's listening who is maybe in her 30s, has a desire to have a family, 30s, 40s, however old. Age is but a number, truly, in my opinion, but is navigating those voices, those outside voices, and is feeling discouraged right now. What advice would you have for a woman in your shoes when you were back then
it
or when you were living back
it
then?
at every point you can start living, it really doesn't matter the timeline, right? We're not on
Mhm.
this aggressive timeline to start enjoying and living the life we want. And so when I look now, I feel like I have all the time in the world. It really I didn't waste time in not getting married and not having children. It happened the way it was supposed to for me. And now when I look back, every part of it was supposed to turn out like that. And if I dated and met some other guy and married him at an earlier age or forced it or pushed it, I wouldn't have my 2 girls, and they were the 2
Mm.
children I was supposed to have. And there's been so much life and so much fun and experiences that we've gotten to live since then. And I also got to live this whole other life before them too. And it's don't give up on whatever the vision is you have for your life. Do not give up on it. If it's yours, hold it close. I talk to my clients all the time about dreaming big. Keep those dreams. If it's right for you, it's right for you. People will have opinions, and you can say thank you so much and keep your true sense of self and where you know your life is going, and don't lose heart. It can happen at any point. I know people in their 40s and 50s who've gotten married and had children and had families, or gotten married and gone into a different kind of family
Mhm.
situation. Um, there is no time wasted. You have so much time. You have more time than you think you do. I really think if we could all just take a step back and know that, we would go easier on ourselves.
Yeah. And allow those other voices to just be opinions, right? They're just opinions. They're not your truth. We don't have it's not your truth until you've received that as truth and made it your
Yeah,
own truth, right? But if you
that's
know what
exactly
your
right.
truth is and you can hold that close, then like you said, you can say thank you or you can say F off, whatever your
Right.
style is. And you can just hold closely that truth of what your vision is, what your dreams are. And I just love that
Mhm,
you just have
mhm,
such a great testimony of that and now being able to prioritize motherhood. What did you first do when you left the corporate world? You at some point decided, okay, I'm not going to outsource motherhood. I'm going to be my mom or I'm going to be the mom to my girls
mhm,
and I'm going to prioritize what they're doing so I can be there. How did you do that and what did you do?
mhm. So I decided that I could have it all and I deserved to have it all. It was that simple. I think a lot of people will make a decision like, how could I possibly have it all? What does having it all mean? You can't have it all. I decided I was going to have my version of it all.
Mm.
And I sat down with a blank piece of paper in that shiny office where I was working 16, 17-hour days, a blank piece of paper. And I thought, if I could have it all, what would it look like? What would it look like? And I threw everything down there of what was in my heart, my dreams, the things that I was scared that people were going to read and think I was crazy. Didn't matter. It went down there. Everything. And ultimately, I kept coming back to I want it all. I want to be at all of the things for my family. And I want to go on a business trip and get to speak
Mm.
to people. I want to wear nice clothes and I want to get to sleep late some days in the week. I want to it was
Yeah.
literally that I got that crystal clear on what I wanted. And then when you do that, opportunity, ideas, people, places have a way of finding themselves
That's right.
coming to you. And I trusted those ideas. And some of them were like just an idea would ping in my head. Oh, this person. So what actually happened was a person I'd met back in law school, probably 20 years earlier, had pinged into my head. I hadn't seen her in forever. I knew she was working in the recruiting space, had her own business. I perceived she was living a life like I wanted, freedom to go play tennis in the afternoon and go pick up her kids. But I'd seen her at business meetings at nice restaurants. I'd seen her kind of living this life. And I literally trusted that her face and name popped into my head. And I picked up the phone to her. And I was bold enough to say, I have an idea. I would like to work with you. Can we talk about it? And she hadn't seen me in years, and she said, "Yes. Whatever it is, yes, let's talk." And from there, it took about 9 months of planning, and I joined a group to become an executive recruiter, an executive consultant for people in the corporate space, and I was able to design my day. I was able
Mhm.
to work for myself, create something that was meaningful, but also take my daughter for a haircut on Tuesday morning at 10 if that was the only time I could go, or go to the doctor's appointment. I could go to the gym in the middle of the afternoon. I gained back control of my life, but I designed it that way. I decided this is what I want for my life. How do I make the pieces all fit into place? But then I was open to the opportunities that came as
Yeah.
well. And from then, that's the pattern my life has taken over the past 10 years. As opportunities have come my way, I've listened, I've thought, how does it fit with what I want, with my family, with our priorities, with the goals that I have? Does it align? And if it does, I listen some more. But I want people to know that they have an opportunity to design their life and create their life on their terms, but it takes you getting clear on what that is you want. So many of us don't know what we want. We know what
Mhm.
we don't want, but what do we
Yeah.
really want?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love, love, love that was your experience and process because I think that is a perfect example of how you've utilized creative processing in your life to gain a massive amount of clarity, then take action on it, change your life, and go for all of the things that you want. But first, you had to sit down, you had to engage with your own creativity, make your vision clear, right? So if I were to put this in the through the lens of creative processing, I would say you sat down with a blank piece of paper and you said, "I the purpose of writing is to process how I get it all."
Mhm.
What it all is for me, like what it looks like to have it all, right?
Right,
And that's
right.
what you did. And then you allowed those promptings in your spirit to be guides, to not just listen and hear them. You created that space for that clarity. And then the things that came up from that clarity, you acted on. You were
Yeah,
curious and then you took
yeah,
action. You didn't just stay in curiosity. You actually
right.
used your curiosity to prompt action. And that's where life really changes, right?
Yeah,
Making those
yeah,
decisions to change, making those
yeah,
decisions to have an impact in a different way. The
yeah.
impact that you made on all of your clients as an attorney is lasting. And that's something that we will forever honor in your
Mhm.
story. The curiosity and drive that you had to go to law school 2 times and that ability to learn in that super structured and high pressure way, I'm sure has served you so well throughout your life in ways that, like, we might not even be able to put into words, but it's helped to
Mhm.
form you as a mom, as a leader, as a now a coach, as a wife,
Mm. Yeah,
and you've learned to take these qualities that were previously something that was harmful or caused harm in a
yeah, yeah.
season, but and actually use them to bring you clarity and peace and joy. And that's to me just points to the power of engaging with your creativity. Would you call yourself, especially like 10 years ago, would you have said I'm a creative?
Oh,
No.
no,
I didn't
not
think
at
so.
all. Not at all. No, I was in a box. I was black or white, and I was in a box, and I followed a checklist.
But it was when you pushed yourself to engage with your own creativity that you were able to connect with what you were ultimately longing for. And that's the power
Yeah,
of creative processing. That's
yeah,
why it's so important to me to have a platform like this where you're just able to tell your story because A lot of times it happens just like how it is right now, where it's I just sit back and I just let you tell your story, and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
I'll just show you where creativity has shown up throughout it. And that's what's caused you to get to the place where you are now. And
right.
we're not exempt from challenges when you've done the thing that to change your life, right? There's still going to be hard things that you're navigating through. Unfortunately, that's just a part of life. But now you at least have tools and the experience to lean back on and say, I've overcome this. And so now I can carry these tools, the breath work or whatever the things are that work for you in your self-discovery journey that you've pursued, right? Use those to navigate through the challenges going forward. So I'm just so
Mhm,
encouraged by you and all that you do. And I
mhm.
love you to pieces. Every time I talk
Oh,
to you, I'm like, oh my gosh,
me too.
Claire. Oh, I just feel so
It's mutual.
encouraged personally. So yeah, thank you so much for
It's
all of that.
Thank you, Daniel. It's mutual. I met you a year ago, and I'll never forget when I first saw you and heard you speak, and I felt such a connection. I was in awe of you and your story, and it was just inspiring in so many ways that you'll probably never know to see you shine and your bravery and your courage and your creativity and leaning into that has inspired me to be open to things like this, right? To be open to the old me would have needed I've got it all scripted out. What are we going to talk about to add most value? And
Yeah.
now I can trust in a process. And I said, I know you've got me today, and it's going to be fun. This is going to be a fun thing. So I'm very grateful to you for coming up with a way to reach people the best way that they need it at the time. And hopefully, little snippets of my story resonate with people and inspire them
I
to
have no doubt. I am
thank
inspired.
you.
Like, I am
Oh, thank you.
inspired by just carving out this space to dive a little bit deeper into your story. Of course, we worked earlier this year on the book.
Mhm,
So, for
mhm.
the listeners who haven't heard yet, Claire is part of a best-selling book called Impact All Out, a collaborative book with the Elevate 360 Mastermind. And in there, we did a question and answer format for impact. How tell really telling their life stories through the lens of impact. Who has impacted you? What is impact to you? And all of those different things. And just in that interview that we did, which is also a podcast as well. So I'll link all of that in the show notes
Yeah.
because if you, I, every time that we talk, it's like just magic. It just is so inspiring and the way that you are just transparent about the journey that you've walked through, it has brought so much clarity to my life. It has inspired me to continue doing the work that I do. And so I just thank you. Thank you for saying that.
Cool.
It's like the
Mm,
highest compliment to be told that, like, through my story, you felt connected. Cause that's a core belief for me is that it's our life stories that are the most powerful tool of connection that we have. And sometimes we just don't have the opportunity to share those in a setting that feels safe and in a setting
mhm,
that feels like they can be honored and protected. And that's been my main goal with Created Worthy is to just create a space where people know that they innately, whatever you've gone through, whatever you've navigated through, there's no story too big or too bad or too good or whatever. We are all created worthy. And yeah, I'm just so grateful for you. Before we close
oh,
out,
thank
though,
you.
I
Yeah.
want you to tell us what is coming up next in your life and business. What's going on? How can we connect with you and support you? All of the good things.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. I continue to just love working with people and helping them transform their lives in the way they are supposed to have the transformation occur. So be that health, well-being, personal, career. I want to inspire everyone to claim I get to have it all. And if I get to be part of that journey, it's the best thing. It's the best thing I could have ever hoped for. And so I work with people one to one in coaching. I've just recently launched because a lot of the people I work with are very busy and can't necessarily commit to week upon week of spending
Mhm.
time for themselves. So I've recently launched what I call a VIP immersive experience. I get to work with you for 3 hours and we really dive in and figure out what you want from life and come up with, to your point, action steps.
Yeah.
Because I think you can talk about it, think about it, write about it, journal about it, but it is so important that you get in action while that's flowing. And so I'm excited to start doing that with people. And I'm already seeing people get amazing results quickly that are long standing as they go on throughout their journey. And so you can work with me in many formats. I also have some courses available to people. Exhausted to Energized is my baby. It's
Yeah.
the journey I went on, going from being exhausted and not knowing how to pull myself out of it to living an energized, vibrant life. And I tell people I went on this very windy path. You can have exactly the path I took that worked in your hands and get the results faster. You don't have to take 10 years to do it.
Yeah. Learn from
Um,
me, which is,
learn from
ah,
me. Yes,
that's what
yes,
we're called
yes.
to do is
That's
share our
right.
experiences so that we can help others along the journey so they don't have to hit as many or at least
Yes,
the same roadblocks. Because a lot of our
that's right.
experiences in these from burnout to energized or from what
Yes.
did you call it? Exhausted to energized.
Exhausted.
I
Mhm.
love that. Um, are so similar.
They really are. They
Oh my
really are.
gosh.
And so, yeah, so how I always say to people, there is a way to work with me or talk to me that fits you. I've created it that way because I got to create it, right? I
Yeah.
got to create it to be a way that was accessible to people. And so I'm just always open to conversations with people to see if working with me and being in my world will help you and further you and elevate your life. And there is going to be a podcast coming. There is a podcast
There
coming. I
is.
declared it. I
Yes.
declared it. I declared it. And watch out, watch this space for that.
Yes.
And I'm inspired by you just to share stories as well and connect with people and give them something to take away from it. So there's a lot to come. A lot to
So
come.
many things. And we're going to have all of the links in the show notes. So for her courses, for how to work with her one on one, for where to follow her on social media, all of that is going to be in the show notes. And who knows, by the time this episode airs, maybe her podcast will be out. Let's speak that into existence.
Yeah.
I think you
There you
can totally
go.
do it.
I'm on it.
Well,
Let's do it. Let's get
you
in
got
action.
it. I have no doubt. Like you're gonna do it.
Thank you.
I
Thank
know
you.
it. It's happening. Watch out.
Yes.
Claire Darr.
Okay.
She's doing a podcast.
Yes, I know.
Of course. Claire, I am just so honored that you've shared your life story with us here today. Your journey of courage and transformation is an inspiration to everyone listening. By stepping into your purpose, you show others that they too can find fulfillment beyond their wildest dreams. Your resilience and passion light the path for others to create lives filled with meaning and peace. Thank you for trusting me with your story and for reminding all of us that true success starts from within. You, Claire, are created worthy.
Hi. Thanks for listening to my story on the Created Worthy podcast. My hope for you is that I've inspired you to have hope in someone. You have a light inside you, and you were put here for a purpose. Your only job is to remember what that is and live that life fully. You've got this.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to the Created Worthy podcast. I hope that today's show resonated with you. And if it did, can you do me a huge favor and go leave a 5-star review? This helps more listeners find the show and it expands the reach of the stories and concepts that are shared here. All the links and guest information are in the show notes. And if you're on social media, come hang out with me. You can find the Created Worthy podcast on both Instagram and Facebook. Or come follow along with my personal IG page, where I just share more about the real, sometimes messy life of your fellow worthy warrior. Can't wait to talk to you soon, friend. And don't forget, we are all created worthy.